I'd like next to call up one of my colleagues who's the vice president of our local association, Melinda Howard-Herarte, and she's going to be making the presentation tonight to NUTIVA. Melinda?
Present our next Global Citizen Awardee, NUTIVA Corporation of Richmond, California. Mr. John W. Rulak founded NUTIVA in 1999 with a mission to nourish people and planet. Under Mr. Rulak's leadership, NUTIVA has consistently advocated for healthy people and ecosystems, searching the world for organic superfoods, from hemp and coconut to chia and red palm, nutrient-dense powerhouses that can be grown and processed in a sustainable way. Foods that are truly good for the consumer and for the planet. The company's practices aim to be good for growers, and it offers numerous products certified by Fair Trade USA. NUTIVA is also among a select group of B corporations, indicating that it meets rigorous standards of social and environmental performance, accountability, and transparency. In fact, NUTIVA donates 1% of its annual sales to sustainable agriculture and environmental programs. In addition to NUTIVA, Mr. Rulak has founded 5 nonprofit ecological NGOs. These include Forests Forever, which was instrumental in placing the California Forest Protection Act on the ballot. It was called Prop 130 in 1990. As an advocate of industrial hemp, John successfully sued the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration in 2002, paving the way for hemp foods to be sold in the U.S. Another of his nonprofits, GMO Inside, recently convinced General Mills to stop including GMOs in Cheerios. The group is now focusing its efforts on Starbucks, asking them to stop using milks from cows fed GMO grains. As a vocal challenger of the industrial food system, Mr. Rulak is a strong advocate for hemp agriculture, GMO labeling, organic foods, and healthy food for all. NUTIVA's mission is to bring nourishment and balance, health and well-being, sustainability, and community to people and planet. This exemplifies what UNA USA East Bay is looking for in choosing a recipient of the Global Citizen Award. Please join me in warmly welcoming Mr. John Rulak, founder and CEO of NUTIVA, our newest global citizen.
Appreciate the acknowledgement award from the United Nations Association here in the Bay Area, and also want to also acknowledge my mother, Elizabeth Rulak. She's 99 years old young, joining us here today. I often joke to her one of the reasons why NUTIVA's had a little success is I learned a little about her good taste of cooking and helps in developing some of our food formulas. As mentioned, I founded the company in 1999. We're based here in Richmond. And originally we started with 500 hemp bars, back when most people thought hemp was marijuana. So we had a few issues with some of the border protection and drug agencies. We sold those 500, made another 500 more, and since then we've had the opportunity to be Inc. Magazine 7 years in a row, fastest growing companies in America. So I really want to thank everybody on my team and our customers for doing that. Maybe just show hands, how many people have eaten and take care of those foods, take care of those trees, and in a few years enjoy that or have the next generation of kids coming through that. We also support organic and non-GMO foods. GMOs are a little more controversial subject, in America, and we're dedicated to educating more people about that. And we feel that the future, to meet some of the United Nations goals, regenerative agriculture is playing a really important role in that. We're also invest in our farmers through Fair Trade. Fair Trade USA, we partner with them in the Philippines, and we have thousands of farmers that receive a premium for the coconuts that they grow. And an example, 2 years ago, they decided the farmers get together and choose where they want to put those funds, and we're paying above market prices to do that. And that's part of our commitment to sustainability. So they decided they wanted to put some funds in a rainy day fund in case there were some weather issues. And as we all know, there were some huge typhoons that hit the Philippines 2 years ago, knocked about 40% of the coconuts off our trees of our farmers. It was devastating for them. And they were able to take some of that money and rebuild because many of the roofs had been blown off. One of the other things that we're working on is being a green waste, a zero waste facility at our company. And that basically means that we've reduced by the amount of overall trash and materials going out of our facility by 90% through recycling. We take some of let's say the leftover food materials, instead of throwing that away, we give those to people who for making animal feed or composting. And we're also a green business certified. We put in waterless urinals in our bathrooms, and that's an area where the Bay Area we really need to step up in water conservation. You know, we built our cities and infrastructure based on thinking it's going to rain 50 inches a year here, and there's so many ways that we can capture rainwater and slow the water down and conserve. NUTIVA, we're trying to do our part there. We also volunteer, have people, our organization volunteer in planting some of the programs we just talked about, and that's really important so people at our company can experience that. So one of the projects we're also proud of is we support coconut nurseries in the Philippines. This is me at a small group of coconut farmers, and the people in the Philippines, they work so hard. Many of them only have 1 or 2 hectares. So we feel if we can give back and give them free coconut seedlings, they can plant that. It's a money tree in the Philippines, and it can make a big difference. And kids, for instance, be able to have shoes to go to school. So we have a goal of planting 100,000 coconut seedlings to help regenerate the lands there and create more income. And we're also funding a development of organic rice fertilizer project in the Philippines. And this is probably the most exciting thing that I think we're doing right now. And I met a young farmer in Manila about 10 months ago, and it was through Lotus Foods, another Bay Area organic food brand. And so this farmer said, I really want to convert our farms and the people, I'm working with 25 farmers in the area, to organic. Virtually all the farms grown in the Philippines for rice is using chemical fertilizers. The synthetic fertilizers has a significant methane increase into the atmosphere. Rice is one of the major contributors to climate change. It's very vastly unknown how much rice contributes to both methane and also NOx, nitric oxides from synthetic fertilizers. And so he said, we have a plan to be able to create organic fertilizer, and we need to raise $2,600. So we said, well, we'll donate $1,300 if you can get someone to match it. We got the mayor in his town to match that $1,300, and we just got the reports back just recently. Here, they're farmers using a rice intensification, which is a different way. You don't read about this in the newspaper. You read about the golden rice, this GMO rice, this is very popular for people to put out in the media as a savior for agriculture. But they're doing SRR rice. Their average yield for the first time using this practice was better than the best yield in the entire country. That was phenomenal. And they also had a disease that came through, insect disease that was impacting much of the area there for the rice farmers. Because of the SRR rice, the roots are deeper and they're stronger. They had very little insect damage. And so this is very exciting. And now for this farmer, because of the success he's getting, other farmers around, he's training them how to do this process. He's getting on a radio program. Now the Philippine Department of Agriculture, because they have developed an export market with Lotus Foods, one of our associates, they're getting more recognition. So these are the kind of projects that I really like to participate in. Also, we're a supplier of red palm. How many people have heard about palm oil and the destruction of forests? It's really a sad thing that's going on. Singapore, you go to Singapore, and it's on fire. There's with the smoke really is impacting countries all over Southeast Asia. And so we have an alternative to this kind of operation that's going on every day in Southeast Asia. So we source our red palm from Ecuador, organic and fair trade. And you can see here's an example. We're using intercropping, nitrogen-fixing crops. So this way we're helping improve the fertilization by growing crops that will fix nitrogen in the soil. We're also supporting compost tea to the crops. And the schools are supported by a Fair Trade Fund. So we have a partner called Natural Habitats in Ecuador, and they're really growing a nice organization there, working to support NUTIVA and other companies for not only organic, but sustainably and fair traded tropical oils. So I'm going to talk a little about one of the other areas that's a big interest of mine, and that is the issue of climate change and the role of industrial agriculture and how that impacts our oceans. How many people are aware of ocean acidification? To me, this is the #1 environmental issue that the world faces today, and it doesn't get enough attention. Though recently, the New York Times did a great article just about this. We're starting to see more awareness on this. And in the last say 50 to 100 years, acidification in the oceans increased by 30%. 1% of the algae in the oceans is dying every year. And the reason is because of acidification. That's a major contributor. And we really need to look at this. And so we actually helped organize a conference called Soil Not Oil in Richmond, California. We had 900 people attend. And this is one of the issues that we're talking about, how we can use regenerative agriculture to put the carbon back into the soil. And what a lot of people aren't aware of, the #1 contributor for greenhouse gas emissions is which industry? Does anyone have any idea? Most people would think it's Exxon and Chevron, transportation industry, but it's actually agriculture. Agriculture is the #1 contributor. It's underreported by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So what's happening really? Industrial agriculture is practiced today relying on synthetic fertilizers and chemical herbicides and pesticides. It's really killing our oceans, and we really need to change our agricultural system. So it's time to change our food system, and regenerative agriculture, and there's many organizations and NGOs all over the world are working on how we can take carbon, which is considered today as a bad thing, right? We have all this excess carbon in the atmosphere. We're at 400 parts per million. We're on the way to going to 450 parts per million. Through regenerative agriculture, we can sequester that carbon, put it into the soil through cover crops, through planned grazing, through other applications in composting. Marin Carbon Project is a great example here in the local area. I encourage people to look at that Marin Carbon Project. And we can bring the carbon level down to 350 parts per million within 10 to 15 years if we focus on this. And ironically, at Paris, agriculture and oceans are not a main part of the agenda. And so there's a lot of NGOs and several organizations are working to get that on there. The good news is the Ministry of Agriculture in France is now a believer in this regenerative agriculture and has set up a policy now for the French government to focus on working with farmers to create this solution. So one thing I encourage you is to learn more about this. You can watch a video from Kiss the Ground called The Soil Story that explains kind of what I've talked about in a short 4 or 5 minutes. And so as looking at the whole climate issue, I'd like to say is we need to decarbonize our energy systems, and we need to recarbonize our soils through regenerative agriculture. And at NUTIVA, we're proud to support these efforts, and I encourage everyone to learn more about this so we can create a livable and healthy world. Thank you for your time.